Hey Supriya, good morning.
Hi, Sandhya. Morning.
Hi. So, guys, as you know, Supriya is a highly paid content writer and she's also a content writing coach. And since I'm like the perfect audience here, who is like a aspiring highly paid content writer, so I believe it'll be a really good opportunity for me to ask questions and represent the masses who also want to pursue content writing and become highly paid content writers. So Supriya, this will be a really good opportunity for me to ask all my doubts face to face to you. And on behalf of all the people, who are planning to become content writers, as they want to either begin as content writers or they want to switch from being, this low ticket charging content writers to somebody who wants to earn better. So guys, let's welcome Supriya Jain on the webinar. And Supriya, uh, how is it to be here on a Saturday morning? How was your weekend?
I think so. I usually don't work Saturdays, but
Okay.
I made an exception for this webinar because um, so this community is evolving, right? And it's making me very excited to talk to people about how they can become highly paid content writers. So yeah, very happy to be here. Hey, Deepak.
Hi, Deepak.
Yeah. So hello everyone, welcome to the webinar. And today's webinar will be a Q&A between Sandhya and Supriya Jain. And one of the reasons I feel Sandhya will actually do a better job than me is that Sandhya will be able to ask the right questions to Supriya, who is already having a lot of experience when it comes to content writing and really scaling her cost per word to as much as 40 rupees a word. And Sandhya is just getting started in her freelance content writing journey. So the Q&A will be between Sandhya and Supriya. So go ahead, enjoy the webinar. More people are joining. So over to you, Sandhya and Supriya. Thank you.
Thanks, Deepak.
Thank you, Deepak. So Supriya, just for our audience to know, and until everybody starts coming in, we want to hear your journey and how you started off as a content writer and how many years of experience you have, what all kind of projects did you work, and just a little bit about your journey, please.
So overall, if you look at it from my entire career, I have like almost 16 years of experience. But when I started working, I never thought that I'm going to be a content writer, So I come from a very middle class family where you don't have those goals and aspirations. You either become a doctor or you become an engineer. So that was the option that we had, that choose one and go for it. So I chose engineering because I thought I'll get faster and I I could get in the workforce and start earning money. Because when I was younger, like I grew up in a one-room house. Okay. We didn't have any space, any privacy, anything. We just went to the best school, but we wore like one uniform. So we'll have like, how that will reach our ankle and we'll wear it for many years till they reach our knees. So that was a place where I came from. So the like you couldn't have that time freelancing wasn't a career, right? So you couldn't do these things. So I told the line, I became an engineer, and then I did my MBA, like typical like middle class journey in India, that this is what you do. I got a good job. But then I figured that being a business analyst wasn't really working for me because I had nothing to do. Like I'd go to office at 12, eat lunch, come back. I was billable, but there was nothing to do. So I said, I need a change. Like I can't sit around doing nothing. And I think that's what started me on this journey, which ultimately fructified in 2015. But there I took a very drastic decision. I put aside all my education and I went into learning and development for some strange reason.
So you switched completely from engineering and MBA.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I went into coaching and training without any prior experience in it. But somehow I did well. And then from there, I did another pivot. So then, that I was with Satyam, and that obviously Satyam went down,
Yeah.
and everybody had to find a new job. So I switched to marketing. That was my other career pivot, where I said, okay, I had done marketing as a part of my MBA program. So I went and joined marketing for a global firm. And then I got married. So I had to leave that job and move to Bangalore. And then I joined another IT company, again in the marketing department, but that's when my content, like my tryst with content began, because I was heading their thought leadership marketing function, which is basically about how do you present your ideas and opinions to people. And we used to engage with a lot of vendors, right, who would write content with us. Like I had $1 million budget to spend on content. So I was on the client side. And I
Okay.
knew all these people who are writing, maybe not amazing stuff, but yes, they're writing and they're getting paid for it. And I was really inspired by this one guy who was a freelancer. He was quite a bit older, like, he must be in his late 60s now. And he was like making 1 crore a year just by content writing, freelancing. And
Just
I
by
was so
writing 1 crore.
just by writing, yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
that time, like many years ago, in 2011, 12 is what I'm talking about. So I was really inspired by that. And I was like, wow. And he used to write awesome stuff, right? We would like literally go to him for every requirement. But then over time, I thought, I can write like that. And suddenly, like, there is this blog that my CEO had to write, and it somehow HR was doing it, but somehow it landed on my desk. Like my boss said, just, ek baar dekh le, Supriya. So I saw it and I was like, oh my God, this is rubbish. So I wrote it. So I wrote it myself, and the CEO liked it. And so that became one of the parts of my job, to write his blogs. 1 blog a week for 2 years, I consistently wrote. And I found that I really enjoyed this. Like this became the best part of my role. And then I said, you know what, this is what I want to do. So I quit, and I started my own company. But we were still like a bigger firm. Like, we started with 3 partners. We were offering end-to-end B2B marketing offerings. My pillar was content. But then 2018, my son was born, so I quit that. So my journey is like this. I make decisions, I go with it, and then I figure out what needs to be done.
Okay.
So 2018 is when I started freelancing as a content writer, and it was, it's been good. I really enjoy what I do now.
Okay. Right. So, Supriya, for this entire content writing journey that you had, like you said, your graph was just up and down and you just used to take decisions and then make them right.
Yeah.
How does, it happen that, like you are in a job which is paying you well and, it's paying your bills. You don't have to worry because at the end of the month, you're getting money. But then when you are a freelancer or you begin as a freelancer, you know that the income is going to be fluctuating. So what is the mindset that somebody has to practice to get into freelancing?
So I think there is a fine balance that you have to make between your risk appetite and confidence, which is to say, yes, I can do this. Because if you go in with an imposter syndrome to say, pata nahi, like, whether I'll be able to do it or not, then you're setting yourself up to fail to begin with, right? So you need to have that one ability to take that risk, and to have that confidence in the skill to back it up. And second is a little bit of planning and organizing also, right? And I lack a little in the second department. Okay, I'm the one who jumps in first and then figures out things later. But I do feel like I knew the market. I knew people are getting paid for this. I knew that if I stepped out this company, I know like 10 people who will be willing to give me work because they worked before with me, as on a professional basis, and maybe they are good friends and acquaintances. So I will find work. So I knew that. Plus, I tried a little side hustle as well. And that started paying me well. So I decided, okay, this is a good time to leave and venture out on my own. So depending on how your risk appetite is, you need to figure out, do you need to set up a side hustle which is really working, which is at least giving you your monthly expenses and income, right? Or do you have enough savings that you can, even if things don't work out, because every business takes time to stabilize, right? You start small and then you keep building momentum, and of course life throws curveballs at all of us. So random things can happen. And, when I quit my job in 2015, June, I quit my job. And August, my husband passed away,
Oh, okay.
So whatever you do, there's no guarantees in life, but you've got to have that conviction in yourself that no matter what shit you go through, you're going to overcome it somehow. It might not happen immediately, it might happen sometime later, but you've got to have that conviction in yourself. And if you don't, then maybe it's just best to stay in a corporate job because that's safer.
So are you saying that content writing is not for everybody, or because, like people need to have that strong mind to become content writers because everything is uncertain?
So I would say life is uncertain in general. Like
Yeah.
there's just been so much up and down in my life. I mean, coming from a place where we didn't have clothes to wear to a place where, I'm living the life of my dreams, literally. It's not been a great ride. But if you have that conviction that no matter what life throws at me, I'm going to get over it, and you are able to hustle and build that skill, right? Nothing is easy. So if people are thinking that content writing is an easy way to make money, it's not that, right? You've got
Yeah.
to put in the effort. So even today, I was like this cohort that I do, I keep telling people, it's not easy to just turn out articles, right? Everything that I write, I read at least 10 or 20 articles before I start writing. And it's a
Mhm.
long process. It takes time. And that's what people pay me for. Yeah.
Yeah.
So uh, I think I would say content writing isn't for everyone, but I would say that getting into a business isn't for everyone. That requires some sort of, you can be a content writer with an agency, right? That's
Mhm.
still, a paying job. So you could
Mm.
uh, do
Right.
that.
So to become a content writer or a freelance content writer, uh, how do we first become a good writer?
Yeah, that's the key question. Um, and I've been trying to answer that in the various talks that I do.
Hmm.
Um, so one thing, and sometimes I find it very funny. I get people who ask me questions like, but I don't like to read. I'm like, you're not the right fit to be a content writer because you've got to be able to understand and assimilate information. And this is also another thing that I keep saying very often, that anybody can string some words together. Yeah,
Hmm.
but that's not content writing. Uh, Content writing happens when you actually make your content magical, where when a reader reads it, they're like, wow, it added some value to my life, whether it is entertainment, whether it is some thought provoking stuff, whether it's giving them what they wanted at that point in time, but it's added some value to my life. Because today there's just so much noise, right? So much
Yeah,
noise
yeah.
in the market, and you get so much content every day. What do you consume? So readers are also very discerning, right? They don't want to just look at every video, and they don't want to read everything that drops in their inbox. So how do you stand out? So
Hmm.
for a good writer, first thing is you've got to learn to read and stay updated on what's happening around you.
Hmm.
Especially if you have a niche, then you need to stay ahead of that niche to say, okay, this is what will unfold later. Second is that you need to be an amazing storyteller. It doesn't matter whether you're writing B2B, B2C, especially now that there is ChatGPT, and I get a lot of questions around this also, right? That what's going to happen to me now that ChatGPT is there? What's going to happen to you is you've got to evolve. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because again, the stringing words together, ChatGPT is doing fabulously and like literally at zero cost. A premium subscription is $20, which is not even 2,000 rupees a month. So obviously companies want to take that up and do some content through a bot,
Hmm.
but that content is repetitive, that content is bland, that content isn't very up to date, and it has no story. Yeah. Your personal stories, the brand stories, the user stories are what is unique about communication now. And if you want to stay relevant as a content writer, those are the kind of things you really need to start building in and up leveling. So read and tell stories and never compromise on quality. So these are, if you get these three things right, I think you'll like it to be in that highly paid job.
Awesome. So how has, like the AI tools helped you as a highly paid content writer? Because I'm sure all the articles that you get would be something which is representing the voice of a company, or which is something that is like technical in nature, or it should be a very good storytelling, right? So how has AI helped you, or like ChatGPT helped you in writing better quality content?
So I wouldn't say ChatGPT is helping me writing better quality content. What it is doing is making it more efficient for me to write content, because it's become an idea generator, right? So I can ask, for example, I was just talking to my cohort yesterday, and I said, okay, we were talking about supply chain and challenges in supply chain. So if you just give that ChatGPT a prompt, it'll list down those challenges for you, and then you can pick out the relevant ones and do more research. So it's just made like sort of stuff much faster for people.
Right. So I have listed a few questions for you, Supriya. And I think those are the questions that I was like wanting to ask you for like really long time. One is how to be a good writer, which you answer very beautifully. And I also want to ask that, as a freelancer, do Indian writers get paid well? And, if you can just give us a ballpark or the number of how much freelancers or Indian freelance writers can achieve.
So it's a continuum, okay? It's a spectrum. I know that there are people who are getting paid less than 1 rupee a word. Yeah. And that's the bottom of the pyramid. And that is happening because either people don't know what is it that they're worth, or they don't have the quality for which clients will pay, or because they're stuck in this per word game, right? Because the minute you charge per word, you make content commoditized. Then people want to haggle. Why will I pay you 1 rupee a word? You're going to just write and the whatever, and should I pay you? So it becomes like a fish market, and you don't want to be in that space. If you want to be a highly paid content writer, you've got to charge for the value you provide. And in the 30-day free email course that I do, pricing is one of the things that I've spoken about. That you figure out what are your goals, and then how much your time is worth, and then work backwards and say, if it takes me 2 hours to write a blog, this is how much I should cost for it. So there's no limit to it. For example, that I charge almost 20 to 40 rupees a word, depending on what the asset is. And all
That's
my
like
clients
a really
are
big thing, or like a dream thing for a person who's just starting out.
Yeah. And I would say that even when like the first assignment I ever did as a freelance content writer was like some 500, 600 word blogs, actually no more, 700 word blogs. I was still charging that first assignment. I charged 3,000 bucks for it. And today for a 750 word article, I charge 30,000 rupees. So it's been an evolution. It's been a learning curve. It's been, also trying to figure out what is it that clients want, right? And yesterday we did a webinar with an ex-CMO to figure out what clients really look for. So once you understand those things, you can name your price. But the spectrum is very broad. You've got to place where you are. And this 40 rupees a word is not being paid by international clients. Okay, I work mostly with Indian companies. There are maybe a couple of clients in Singapore who are occasionally there, but their price range is also similar. So it's Indian companies who are paying that much money.
Oh, wow. I mean, because I hear from a lot of people dejected that, like Indian companies or Indian clients don't pay well. So, I mean, this is like really hopeful for me to understand that, like you have been getting really good content, or you have been charging well to these clients and they're ready to pay as well. How do you draw boundaries with these clients? Like that, hey, I am not going to do more than 3 edits, or how do you define those boundaries?
So my contracts are very clear. Like in the terms and conditions I sent over, I said no more than 2 iterations. If I do more than 2 iterations, I'm going to charge it per hour. I'll also say that, if you change your mind in the middle of writing an article, then, and if that mind change means 70% of the article is rewritten, then I will charge it as a fresh piece. I've built those caveats in my, how do you say it? The contract itself. Whenever I send an estimate, I tell people that. I also have my turnaround times very specific that, if you're giving me a blog, I'll give it back to you in 4-5 days. But if it's a longer thing, then it's going to take longer. So I do that. But yes, I'm also flexible. Like sometimes people will say, okay, they're minor, tiny edits. That way I don't,
Right.
haggle.
You also mentioned that you have a cohort, or you have a training program for people to become highly paid content writers. Can you just throw some light on that?
Okay, so this started actually, and I guess that's so it started when I came to Deepak with a problem, and I said, listen, I am a bottleneck, right? Because I was a one-person company that time, and I was getting swamped with work. I had like no time, no bandwidth, and I was repeatedly saying no to a client. And I told him, like, when I met him, I was like, listen, I just said no to a 1.25 lakhs a retainer every month because I don't have the bandwidth to do it. And very, like, literally almost 70,000, 80,000 rupees of work I was saying no to every week because I didn't have the time to do it.
Okay.
But I wasn't able to find good writers who could, take that on, and clients pay me because of what I deliver. And now these guys could possibly make life easier for me. So
Mhm.
he told me, why don't you coach people yourself if, you're not able to find the right talent in the market? And that's how my cohort started. I have done one cohort. The first one, I took a tiny set of people. I think we were just 7 people. And I said, let me just see, if it works or it doesn't work. And I think it went fantastic. People were very enthusiastic about it. And I started opening up projects. So from the first cohort, I actually hired one person full time. And he also like people, I unlocked some around 1.25 lakhs of opportunity in the first cohort because I
Nice.
was testing waters. And I said, okay, this is great. So I started my second cohort. Um, and it's still going on. And there are 20 people in it. They're brilliant folks, by the way. They're like really, excited to do stuff, want to go out and try new things. And within that first month itself, like first 3 weeks actually, I opened up 3 lakh worth of opportunities, and they like lapped it up. And I
Oh,
told them, let's take it as an exercise. Let's, you pitch to me, you tell me why I should take you, you quote. So we went through that learning process, that how these things happen, how you should quote to a client, all of that. And they sent fantastic proposals. So I picked 3 people, and they've got like, now they're working on assignments worth 3 lakhs. Plus all the other opportunities I get that I don't want to work on directly, I give to these folks. Um, so this one girl, I coached her through how to pitch to another client, and she got a project worth 30,000. Plus, with a possibility, if she does this well, he's gonna pay her 5 lakh rupees to do the other stuff,
wow.
right?
So you hired some people from your own cohort, and you have them in your team right now.
Yeah. And in the second cohort, I've also rolled out one more offer as a full-time person with my team. So I think this is shaping up well. And I think one of the reasons the cohort is working is because most of the time people tell me that what I am covering, sometimes it might look very basic for people, but it's also, people know certain things,
Yeah.
but they don't know how to apply it in practice. Like everybody knows content should be structured like an introduction, main body, conclusion. This is not rocket science. Yeah. But what do you write in that introduction? How do you hook the target audience? How do you tell a story that's gripping, that makes people read, what you put down, is where most people fail. Yeah. Their
Mm.
thought process is very fragmented. It doesn't come together. So those are the kind of things that we're exploring, trying to see, how do you write magical content, and that's what's happening in the cohort.
Right. Can you like share your cohort links to us so that we also join your cohort, and also tell us a little, or just share the links of your courses with us.
Okay, so I don't have a landing page for the cohort right now, but I have application form open. So I've just put the
Mhm.
application form in the chat. What I
Okay.
do also have is a 30-day free course, which is actually a very fabulous course, if I say so myself. I've literally put everything that I've learned over the years into this course. And I'm going to put the link for that also into the chat. So that's the 30-day free course. But um, what I also wanted to tell people was that there is a bit of personal accountability that comes when you want to become a content writer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, don't join a course because, so I'm not an English teacher, and that's what I'm very clear about my uh, to people who want to join in, and that's why the application process is there. I'm not here to teach you English or any other language that you want to write content in. You got to get your basics right. You've got to work for it, because we've also done it, right? So the
Mm.
family I come from, for example, nobody speaks a word of English, like zero. Even my mom,
Mm.
no English whatsoever. So whatever I've learned is because I've, put time and effort into reading, into writing, into practicing, into speaking.
Yeah.
And that's a skill you've got to build for yourself, right? No matter
Mhm.
which language you want to write in. And then what I can help with is the leveling up, to say, okay, now you've got this, you can write decent content. Here's what will get you more money, right? How do you jump from getting that 1 rupee to at least getting 10, 20 rupees a word. And like for people in my cohort, if I send them an article, I can't even pay people 1 rupee a word. That's just like very insulting to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
So
there involves a lot of research and writing. There
yeah,
involves a lot of time.
yes,
So paying 1 or 2 rupees, yeah,
yeah.
it just feels brutal.
Yeah. So we are I that's what I'm hoping to, sort of achieve in this.
Awesome. So going ahead, let's just take a few comments, or let's just take a few questions from the Q&A. Somebody asked, how does content writing differ from journalism? I'm a journalist and want to become a content writer, but I'm confused.
Okay, so journalism is basically a form of reporting, right? You have something and you report on it. So it's more fact driven, and you can't change a lot of it, right? You can maybe in creative journalism a little bit you can tell the story and make it a little bit more interesting. In content writing, there are two different fields then. One is copywriting, which is where you're trying to sell people something. And that becomes more like an ad copy or landing pages or things like that, which is not reporting facts, but also is more of psychology, right? How do you understand human behavior and how do you then give them those points or the content that's going to appeal to them and make them want to take action. And then there is content writing, which is more of sort of thought leadership, right? That there is, you form opinions, you share insights, you tell people how to do certain things. And I think that's the basic difference which is there. I do find that a lot of journalists, when they first start content writing, they're not able to make that flip, right? From reporting to actually writing a story as a point of view. But I think with a little practice, it definitely can be a gap that they can bridge.
Sorry, one very common question that's coming again and again is, how do you reach out to clients, or how do you get clients?
Okay. So I tell people this all the time. People buy from people. Okay. Nobody is buying from the business. Um, and I haven't really done any cold emailing or cold calling. What I do instead is I reach out to my network, which is what I call my circle of influence. And you might feel that you don't have a circle of influence, but all of us do, right? And if you feel nahi hai bilkul bhi, so then start building it now, right? So reach out to people on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great platform, right? So reach out to people on LinkedIn who are in places like companies where people do generate content, who are in the marketing team, who are into content and communication team, and connect with them and send value to them over time, right? Don't like immediately say, I saw your profile, give me a job, or I want to work with you. Give them some value. Tell them, okay, you recently published this blog and it's amazing, but look at this part. If you had just told a story, it would have been amazing, and tell them that story, right? And then over time, they'll start seeing value in you. And when they need a content writer, they're going to reach out to you. So that's one level. The other level is, unless you're just starting out, there are people we've worked with across somebody or the other. It doesn't matter, like they needn't be your best friend, but some acquaintance, and you can reach out to them. And that's what I did for the first time when I started as a freelancer. Because we had this company, right? And all our contacts we exhausted in building the company, right? That give us business. When I left the company, they made me sign a caveat saying that I can't work with any of the company's clients for the next 2 years, which is my entire contact base wiped out because I can't reach out to them for business. But like the second level contacts are still available. So I said, okay, guys, I've just started writing. I can't work with you, but can you connect me to someone? Right.
Yeah.
And not all these conversations will materialize, but maybe one or two do, right? So that's the first one where I got paid 3,000 rupees for a blog and then it started. But you've got to be that, build that network, ask people, because unless you ask, they don't know that you're looking for work, right?
Yeah.
Or can you connect me to this person?
Right.
So that's how I find clients. You can do cold emailing as well, but I find that that's very low success rate. So you've got to be very okay with rejection to do that.
Yeah, right. Cold email, I mean, I have tried that a lot, but yeah, the response rate was very less. And that's why what I did was, whenever I see that a company is hiring, and if I want to write for that company, what I do is I just find out who is the chief marketing officer and scrape out that guy's email, or just DM him if he's in my connection, link. DM him saying that, hey, this is what I do, and this is like the most apt sample that can match your requirement. So I think I'm going right that way. So it's good that I am able to resonate what you're saying, and I can realize that I'm going on the right path. Right. So have you niched down, Supriya, to become a highly paid content writer, or do you write as a generalist? Because
So,
a lot of gurus, they'll just tell you that, you need to niche down, you need to pick a niche to become a highly paid, whatever in that niche. So how do you agree to that, or do your thoughts differ?
okay, again, so there are two sides to the story. I have a niche because I have the background in it, right? So I write mostly on technology. 90% of my business is technology. And it's a good niche because there are not many people who can write on tech. Yeah. I had a background in it. I worked in tech companies, so I knew it. But that said, I also work with a lot of random. So I've written about perfumes and detergents and coaching and soul's purpose and Ayurveda, you name it. I've written about it, even wines. Um, and I've an HR, so recently I got a project which is from an HR department of a company, an automobile company, and they're paying me 7.5 lakhs for it.
Wow.
So yeah, and that's like actually nothing in it. Maybe some 30,000 words I have to write. That's about it overall.
Oh, wow. That's like a lot for the little quantity of work that you could put in there.
So what I firmly believe is that you can get paid a lot in any niche. It just depends on what is the quality that you're delivering. And if you're just starting out, then I will say, don't worry so much about niches unless you have a background. Like if you have a tech background or a finance background, then yes, go after those. But otherwise, explore a little bit, see what works with you, what comes naturally to you, what's the easiest, and then find who's going to willing to pay top dollar in that, because big companies are everywhere, right?
Right. So I mean, but you went from technology to wine to HR. How does that work? Like, do you like sit and read a lot about it? How do you understand the background of the industry and then start writing about it? Because
so I ask a lot of questions.
Oh, okay.
So when I ask a lot of questions, and I don't know who said it, but somebody said that if you want to cut a tree down, you got to sharpen your axe, and that's what you should spend most of your time doing. So almost 70 to 80% of my time when I'm writing on anything is spent on research, reading up on the stuff, or asking questions of the client, or getting on those briefing calls. Just 30% is actually writing. So that gives me the context. And today you can research on anything, right? Google is like, everything is available there. You don't even need any paid resources or anything to research stuff. So yeah, read a lot, assimilate it, and ultimately, like I said, it's about storytelling. So if you got the right story from the client, then writing becomes the easy part of it. The understanding is where most people fail. They can't understand what the client wants, and that's why they're not able to deliver on it.
Right. So I think we'll take some more questions from the Q&A that people have asked. Or guys, if you have some questions for Supriya, please send in the Q&A so that we pick quality questions and ask here. But other than that, Supriya, like, how has your training program worked out for a lot of people? And because you said you picked 3 very good employees from the group itself, so how is it going to be for them in the going future? Because I am like honestly very interested in joining the cohort, because I understood that you're hiring and they're not getting paid 1 or 2 rupees, and they get good quality work as well. So I'm like very interested in joining the cohort program. Can you tell a little about the future of the people who join the cohort program?
So I think one of the important things that we're doing is what people are taking away. And I get like every time we do a session, I ask them, what is your takeaway? And like they send me pages and pages of notes, which is very inspiring that, at least whatever I'm saying is making sense to people. I think what they're fundamentally understanding is this part that I just said, that knowing what to write is more important than actually writing, because ultimately writing boils down to communication. Yeah. Your client hires you because they want to send a particular message to their audience, right?
Yeah.
You may write fancy words, and I totally do not write fancy words. Okay, I write very simply. I don't want the person who's reading it to go and find a dictionary.
Word and dictionary. Yeah. Most people think
Yeah.
that content writing, or to become a very good content writer, you need to add all those fancy words from the dictionary. But
Not at all.
simplicity
Not at all.
works.
Simplicity is the best. So I never ask them to like focus on vocabulary. I'm saying, but I focus on grammar, like, because that's a building block foundation of a language. But what they're understanding is that this is the meaning of what you want to say is more important than the words that you use. And they're trying to figure out how do you actually reach out to clients. They're trying to figure out how do you actually pitch your work in a way that you get more clients. So we are starting on a very foundational level. We're saying first 4 weeks are only spending on quality. Because if you don't have quality, then there is no point like pitching to clients, because nobody is going to like get back to you. So first 4 weeks are only focusing on quality. How do you improve quality? And not from a language standpoint, but from a thought process standpoint. Yeah. And sorry, 1 second. Yeah. So so they're trying to figure out how do they do these conversations which are highly paid, right? And I guess that's one of the key learnings.
Okay. You want to take a minute to grab some water? Yeah, please do that. Until then, I'll just, guys, if you have any questions, please do ask in the QA section. That will have quality questions for us. Tarun asked, what is the thought or psychology when you're writing content? How do you find out what your audience wants? Okay, I think Tarun, what I understood from ma'am is that, like you need to first talk to the client. You need to understand what they are thinking, ask them questions, ask a lot of questions. That's what I noted down from what she was talking. And also, other than that, understand about their industry, learn more about their industry. But yeah, I will also take this question for her to answer it for you.
Hey, sorry.
Yeah, Supriya. So Tarun asks, what are your thoughts or psychology when you're writing content for your client?
So I think it's very similar to what I just said. I try and figure out what is it that they want to communicate, right? And those are the kind of questions I ask them. That who's your target audience? What's your key message? Do you want this content piece to sell something? Do you want this content piece to provoke a thought? And then I write based on that. I'm sorry.
It's all right. And then somebody is asking, what are the resources you use to develop your content writing skills? That's a good question. And do you teach copywriting also in your cohort? Yeah, I think even I'm like very interested in knowing if she teaches copywriting also in her cohort, because copywriting is, it's mostly very targeted. And there needs to be a lot of understanding and training required for copywriting. Sure. All right. So guys, looks like we have some 1 or 2 more quality questions, and then we can close this since it's a weekend also. And I'm sure, Supriya, you also have plans for today. So one last question somebody is asking is, do you teach copywriting in your cohort?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right, guys. So whoever is interested in learning, like content writing and wants to be a highly paid content writer. Please do join Supriya ma'am's cohort. And Supriya, you have shared the link on the chat, right? So can you share it again for the people to track it instead of scrolling up? Okay. So
Somehow I can't access the chat.
I'll send it to everybody.
Yes, please. Sorry, guys.
This is the link for ma'am's cohort. Please go and join. I'm already a part of one of the cohort that ma'am is, she has made a group on WhatsApp. It's a free WhatsApp group for people to discuss about content writing. And I find it very useful because the group is very active and they keep sharing insights, and ma'am also answers a lot of questions that people have over there. So yeah, I think all my questions regarding what I had about content writing are answered. And Supriya, I hope you're fine now. So if there's nothing else that you need to add, shall we close the session?
Yes, thank you so much. It was great talking to you guys. And I know there are more questions. I'll try and answer them in an email later on.
Right.
Thank you for the time on the weekend.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.